Now then, the sun is shining. Did you notice that on your way here today?
Yay!
Yes, the coldest winter in 30 years is officially over, apparently, with some saying today is the first day of spring. However, with the absence of seasonal daffodils, other people are suggesting we're still going to be firmly in the grip of winter for another few weeks. So has spring sprung for you today, ladies?
Well, do you know, I leave the house in the morning in the dark. And so I have a kip in the car on the way in. And I had a little kip this morning and I woke up on the M4, not on it, still in the car. And I looked out the window and it was beautiful sunshine streaming into the car. And it really lifted my spirits. I thought, oh, I'll go and see the girls today. Might have a little sit outside a cafe later on or something.
It's magical, though, isn't it?
And find some friends.
Don't you think it's magical, though, spring? It's just, you know, it's clean. You feel as though you've cleansed yourself, and here we go, and the trees are all going, oh, look at this. Oh, bud. That's what they do, you see.
They go.
Bud.
Do you have a spring in your step? A spring sprung
I do,
for you
because,
today?
you know, there's a little patch outside my house, which is a long green bit, and every year the daffs come up. And then they go, don't they? Because they don't have long to live, do the daffs? And now they've just poking their heads up, and you go, oh,
yes, but they're only just poking their heads up.
Well, I know they're late,
aren't
they? They're very late.
I still think it's all very gloomy. And what's worrying me is it says make the most of today and this bit of sunshine, girls, because by the middle of the week it's gone again. It's going to be cold, damp, it's rain.
Excuse me.
Fed up with it.
Excuse me. As a farmer's daughter, it's March winds do blow and we shall have snow. And then what will the robin do then, poor thing? I just think I'd point that out to you.
I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that means.
Because it's not ready yet. Us people know about the land. It's not time yet, is it? It's
but
when
it's
the lambs
the lambs are coming, aren't
lambs
they?
Come
I had roast lamb
though.
yesterday. It was lovely.
So did we, actually. But it's not... Don't get above yourselves. No, it's not there yet. But the birds are starting. You're
the
quite
birds,
right.
it's the birds when you hear them, don't you, now?
Well, there's an owl outside my house, so I think must be looking for a mate, because he's hooting away.
Is that not Eamon?
No, it's not. I'll check. Talking of Eamon, it has been a massive weekend for football, hasn't it? Especially in our house. Manchester United winning the Carling Cup final yesterday. Thank the Lord for that. It was also the first time that former teammates John Terry and Wayne Bridge, of course, met on the pitch since the scandal. Oh, yes. That scandal surrounding their private lives. And as Man City and Chelsea players shook hands before kick-off, Bridge did manoeuvre his hand straight to that young mascot standing next to Terry, leaving him empty-handed. So you could say it was a rather public snub, wasn't it? So question is, I'd like to ask you, would you have dared to blank him? Could you blank someone? Or would you put a show on for the crowd and be right and professional about it all?
Well, I don't like falling out with people and I don't like confrontation, but I think you have to stick to your principles, don't you, really? And I mean, I've never really sort of fallen out with anyone. There's probably about one or two people that have done unforgivable things to me. And I have made a stand and said, I'm not going to have these people in my life anymore, and if I do run into them for whatever reason, I'm not going to pretend that everything's OK, because...
So even if it was in a public place, you could
ignore
them and...
Well, also, sometimes it gets to where everybody knows about it and everyone's looking at you like that sort of situation, so everyone's watching to see what you do, and I think that makes it harder to pretend as well. I think...
would you actually snub that person, though? Oh, would you?
I would.
You could.
I would. And I don't take it lightly, because I don't like stuff like that. But if someone's done something really wrong to me, and, you know, even if it's in, like, the name of show business, it's a show business do or something, I don't think you should smile. I think there are some times when people do things that are wrong, they need to know they're wrong, and I think if you don't address it, then you're protecting them.
Well, do you know, I admire you, Lisa, for that, because I would like to be more like that. I think I would probably do the proper thing, particularly if it was public, so if it was at an event. And I've had people that I'm not very keen on that might have done things, but I think even if I thought, I'm not going to speak to them, I'm going to snub them, I'm going to walk past, actually on the day, on the night, I probably would do the right thing. And I wish I was more like you. I wish I could stick to my principles a bit more. If it was something really bad, though, I mean, obviously it depends on the circumstances, doesn't it?
But also, I think, you know, in a way, you have to be gracious and, do you know what I mean? Keep your pride and walk away. Because, you know, if you ignore the whole situation, that's far more damning than snubbing somebody, because it will only turn against you, I think. And if you're gracious and just say, and you don't have to say anything, but you don't have to snub somebody, because people will look at you and think that you're being the funny one then, and I think it will
I agree
reflect
with
back
that.
on you.
I'm with you on that one. Can I just say quickly, by the way, that Manchester City won this weekend as well?
Oh, yes,
And
well
I saw a very old friend, Mike Summerby, last week when we were in Manchester doing Calendar Girls, and he used to be City, and in my day, footballers behaved themselves much better. They still went out and had a nice time. But we didn't have all these things. As far as I'm concerned, I'd snub the whole lot of them. But I agree with Sherrie. I think I'd be worried that if I did a whole big snub thing, the person I was snubbing, it makes them look more important than they're allowed to be somehow. So I just brush them aside.
Yeah, I don't think if someone's done something wrong to you, no, I don't think you should. I think there's a lot to be said for being dignified, but if someone's done something really, really mean, and because I can't say what this person did, but it was really, really mean, for me to just be kind of gracious about it would have meant that they'd got away with it, and I'm not having that.
That's our girl. She's sticking to her principles today. Good for you. OK, break.